So here, first we are going to study about what is mean by photon and what are the properties of a photon. It's known that photons are the packets are bundle of energy, and the photon's energy can be calculated using a formula E is equal h nu. H is representing the Planck's constant and mu here is representing the value of frequency. By using wave equation, which is nothing but C, or else in terms of V can write as lambda divided by T, or else in terms of frequency we can write V lambda F. So this is our wave equation. So from our wave equation we can write frequency C over lambda also. So most of the time when we are solving the question, we will use hc over lambda for energy of a photon. Now, what are all the properties of a photon? It's known that the photons travel with the speed of light in a vacuum and it has a zero rest mass, which means the photon cannot exist at a rest position. And the kinetic energy of a photon is equal to hc divided by lambda, whereas the value of momentum can be written as h divided by lambda. And here the photon always travels in a straight line. The energy of a photon here is always depends on the frequency of a photon, so that the energy of a photon does not change when a photon travels from one medium to the another. Now, the next one we are going to study about some more properties. So it's about the wavelength. The wavelength of a photon changes in different media. So the velocity of a photon is different in different media. And the next point here is photons are electrically neutral and photons may show diffraction under a given condition. And photons are not deviated by magnetic and electric field. The next main concept in this lesson is the photoelectric effect, the phenomena of emission of electron from mainly in the case of metal surface exposed to light energy of suitable frequency is known as photoelectric effect. The electron emitted by this effect is called as photoelectron, and the current constituted by this photoelectron is known as photoelectric current. So the image here is showing about how the electrons are getting emitted. And here we have too many experiments for proving the photoelectric experiment. So here we are having just the glass tube experiment. So here we will use the metal anode and cathode. In that cathode we will like incident the UV light. From that because of that the cathode will produce the electron. So this is just a experiment for the photoelectric. So when we are talking about the photoelectric effect, we have to know about the effect of intensity of an incident light on a photoelectric current. So for a fixed frequency the photoelectric current increases with increase in the intensity of an incident light. Similarly, the effect of potential on a photoelectric is also important. When the potential is decreased, the current decreases but does not become zero at zero potential. So the next one is about the effect of frequency of an incident light on a photoelectric current. For a fixed intensity of an incident light, the photoelectric current does not depend on the frequency of light because the photoelectric current simply depend on the number of photoelectrons emitted and in turn on the number of photons incident and not on the energy of a photon. Whereas the fourth point is about the effect of frequency of incident light on stopping potential. When the potential is decreased and taken below zero, photoelectric current decreases to zero but at different stopping potential for different frequency. So that is the effect of the frequency of incident light in the case of stopping potential. The next one is about the threshold frequency. It's known that the threshold frequency is the minimum frequency required to the process has to be happen. So here we can say the threshold frequency below which the photoelectric emission is not possible. However, high the intensity of a light is needed. And here I just showed the sum of laws related with the photoelectric emission. You people can just like have a look on it. Then we will move to the next one. So now we are moving to the next one. It's about the Einstein photoelectric equation. I hope you people know it is very important to study this topic, right? Because whenever we are having the question related with the photoelectric effect or dual nature related questions, of course, you have to know about the photoelectric equation. Because when a photon of a energy h nu falls on a metal surface, the energy of a photon is absorbed by the electron and is used in two ways. The first one is about a part of energy is used to overcome the surface barrier and come out of the metal surface. So this part of energy is called as work function. So when you are studying about the Einstein photoelectric equation, you have to know about the work function. And the formula for calculating the work function is pi is equal h nu lambda. And the second point here, you have to keep it in the mind, the remaining part of a energy used in a given velocity to the emitted photoelectron. This equals to maximum kinetic energy of a photoelectrons, where m is the mass of a photoelectron. And here again I just show the emission of an electron from the metal surface. And here according to the law of conservation we can write H is equal pi plus half mv square maximum, whereas half mv square maximum is representing the kinetic energy, whereas pi here is representing the value of work function. So now we can rearrange the equation and we can write the final expression for the Einstein's equation. So when we are rearranging this, we will get the value of half mv square maximum is equal h times mu minus mu lambda. Now, now we are moving for the verification of laws of photoelectric emission based on Einstein's photoelectric equation. So here, as I said, we are going to use the photoelectric equation only, which is nothing but half mv square is equal h nu minus mu naught. So mu here is representing the value of frequency, whereas mu naught is representing the threshold frequency. So here, if the value of frequency is less than b mu naught, then the value of half mv square will become negative, and that is not possible. So we can say the photoelectric emission will takes always in the condition mu is greater than mu naught. And the second point is about the intensity of an incident light. Since one photon emits one electron, so the number of photoelectrons emitted per second is directly proportional to the intensity of an incident light. So here, about the third point we are going to study, like here in the third point, we are just going to study about the kinetic energy of a photoelectron. So it's known that from the equation of Einstein, we can write half mv square is directly proportional to, which means the photoelectron is directly proportional to the frequency of an incident light. And the fourth point is about the photoelectric emission due to collision. It's known that whenever there is a photoelectric emission due to the collision between a photon and an electron, there cannot be any significant time lag between the incident of a photon and emission of a photoelectron. So, here we can say the process will be instantaneous and it will delay only for 10 to the power negative 8 seconds. Okay, now the next thing is about the application of electric effect. So these are the application of photoelectric effect. Now you can copy this, then I will explain you what are all these things. Okay, here the first one is about the automatic fire alarm, and here also we will use the photoelectric effect, like when the fire is coming. Because of that, the electron will get produced and it will make an alarm. Similarly, burglar alarm and scanners in television transmission, reproduction of sound in cinema film, and in the case of astronomy, and in paper industry to measure the thickness of a paper and to locate the flaws or holes in a finished goods, and in the case of determining the opacity of a solids and liquid. And in the case of automatic switching of street lights, also we are using photoelectric effect on. And in the case of furnace, we will use the photoelectric effect to control the temperature. And then we will use the and then, in the case of beauty meter also, we will use this photoelectric effect to measure the fair complexion of skin. And this is used in the metrology department and photometry and others also. So now we are moving for the next one. So now we are going to study what is the dual nature of radiation and matter. So wave theory of electromagnetic radiation explain the phenomena of interference, diffraction, and polarization. On another hand, quantum theory of electromagnetic radiation successfully explain the photoelectric effect, Compton effect, black body radiation, and X-ray spectra. Thus, the radiation have dual nature, that means they have the wave and particle nature. So from Louis de Broglie's suggestion, the particles will behave like electron, proton, or neutron, and because of that, we can say it will have the dual nature, which means they will have the particle as well as the wave nature. So here, the suggestions based on the symmetry and the universe is made up of particle and radiation, and both entities must be symmetrical. Now, the next one is about the de Broglie wavelength. So, de Broglie wavelength, according to de Broglie, in a moving material, particle can be associated with a wave, which means a wave can guide the motion of a particle. So, the waves associated with the moving materials, particles, are known as de Broglie waves or meteors. So here the de Broglie wavelength can be written as V is equal h nu hc divided by lambda. So here we can write lambda is equal h divided by mc, or else we can write lambda is equal h divided by p, or else in terms of momentum we can write lambda is equal h divided by mv. Now, so we can say the de Broglie wavelength is inversely proportional to the velocity of a particle. So from that we can say if the particle moves faster, the wavelength will be smaller and vice versa. And the second point we can say if the particle is at rest, then the de Broglie wavelength is infinite and the wave cannot be visualized as well. So de Broglie wavelength is inversely proportional to the mass of a particle, so that the wavelength associated with a heavier particle is smaller than with a lighter particle. And in the case of charge of a particle, we can say de Broglie wavelength is independent of charge of a particle. Now, we can say matter waves are not electromagnetic waves because they are not produced by accelerated charges. Matter waves are probability waves, amplitude of which gives the probability of existence of a particle at that point. Now, this is the experiment which will be used to prove the photoelectric effect, which is nothing but the Davison and Zermer experiment, right? So here, what we can say, when we are applying the so here a beam of electron is emitted by the electron gun, which is made up of. So here we can see the beam of electron emitted by the electron gun is made to fall on a nickel crystal cut along cubical axis at a particular angle. And here we can say the scattered beam of electron from here based on an angle will be detected by using the rotated angle detector. The energy of incident beam of an electron can be varied by changing the applied voltage to the electron gun. And here, the intensity of a scattered beam of electron is found to be maximum when the angle of scattering is 50 degree and the accelerating potential is 54 volt. So usually we will keep these two values as common because then only it will be easy to get the proper detected values, and by using that only we can like classify about the photoelectric effect graphs and everything. Okay.